The year 1989 marked a turning point for the Boston Celtics and their iconic star, Larry Bird. Once the undisputed kings of the Eastern Conference and the NBA, the Celtics had seen their dominance wane. Larry Bird, their leader and one of the greatest players in basketball history, was no longer regarded as the king of the NBA. The reason for this decline was clear: a double Achilles tendon surgery that had sidelined Bird for nearly an entire year. At this point in his career, Bird had nothing left to prove. He was already a three-time NBA champion, a two-time Finals MVP, and had been named to the All-NBA First Team 9 times. His legacy was secure, but the severity of his injury raised doubts about whether he could ever return to the level of play that had made him a legend. The Celtics, once the league's most feared team, now faced a rising tide of competition as more and more franchises aimed to establish themselves as dynasties. The 1990s, later celebrated as the NBA's golden era, were on the horizon, and with them came a new generation of superstars. The Detroit Pistons had become the dominant force in the Eastern Conference, having eliminated both Boston and Chicago in the playoffs the previous season. Behind them were the Chicago Bulls, led by Michael Jordan, a player destined to become one of the greatest in NBA history, and Scottie Pippen, who had been named the league's most improved player the previous season. The Bulls were poised to challenge for supremacy in the league, but they underestimated one critical factor: Larry Bird was not finished yet. Despite his injury and the passage of time, Bird remained a fierce competitor with an unyielding desire to win. Since his injury in November 1988, during a game against the Miami Heat, Bird had undergone an arduous recovery process. For nearly 12 months, he worked tirelessly to regain his strength and mobility. When he finally returned to the court, he was determined to prove that he was still the same Larry Bird who had dominated the league for so many years. However, his comeback was immediately tested. In just his second game back, Bird faced the Chicago Bulls at the United Center. The Bulls were no longer the inexperienced team he had easily defeated in the past. With the addition of Scottie Pippen and the maturation of Michael Jordan, they had become a formidable force. The Celtics, on the other hand, were an aging team. Their core players, Robert Parrish, 35, Kevin McHale, 31, Dennis Johnson, 34, and Bird, 32, were all nearing the twilight of their careers. Despite this, Celtics management believed that if Bird could return to form, the team could still contend for a championship. The game on November 4, 1989, was highly anticipated. Both the Celtics and the Bulls had started the season with a 1-0 record, but the Bulls were clear favorites. They had reached the Eastern Conference Finals the previous season, while the Celtics had been eliminated in the first round. Michael Jordan, now in his prime, was determined to lead his team to victory, even with Bird back on the court. From the opening tip, it was clear that Bird had lost none of his court vision. Early in the game, he delivered a pinpoint pass to Jim Paxson, who scored easily. The Celtics knew they had to be aggressive, and their defense set the tone. John Bagley managed to steal the ball from Jordan and found Bird, who finished the play with a tough floater. The Bulls, known for their high offensive rating and solid defense, relied on their youth and athleticism to push the tempo. Jordan and Pippen were relentless, scoring in transition and attacking the rim, but Bird was equally determined. He used his signature moves in the low post and mid-range, consistently finding ways to score, despite the Bulls' defensive efforts. Pippen, who had grown significantly as a player since his rookie season, showed no fear in taking on Bird. He drove to the basket with confidence and made several key plays. Jordan, meanwhile, was beginning to assert himself as the game progressed, showcasing his unmatched scoring ability and leadership. Despite Bird's strong first quarter, in which he scored 10 points, the Celtics trailed 27-31. The Bulls' supporting cast, including Bill Cartwright and Horace Grant, contributed effectively, making it clear that Boston would have to fight hard to stay in the game. The Celtics managed to close the gap in the second quarter, entering halftime trailing by just 1 point, 48-49. Bird's performance was a key factor as he continued to score from difficult positions. His textbook hook shots and mid-range jumpers demonstrated his unparalleled skill and versatility. In the second half, the Bulls came out energized. Under the guidance of Phil Jackson, who was coaching only his second game as head coach, Chicago looked more focused. Jordan and Pippen displayed their growing chemistry, highlighted by a spectacular full-court lob pass from Jordan to Pippen that electrified the crowd. But Bird was not to be outdone. He responded with a similar full-court outlet pass, reminding everyone that his basketball IQ and competitive spirit were as sharp as ever. As the game entered its final minutes, the tension was palpable. The Celtics had managed to take the lead, but the Bulls fought back. John Paxson hit a clutch mid-range jumper to tie the game in the closing seconds, giving Chicago hope for a victory. It was at this moment that Larry Bird delivered one of the most memorable plays of his career. With the game on the line, he sank a spectacular fadeaway jumper over 2 defenders, including a charging Michael Jordan. The shot silenced the United Center and secured the victory for Boston. The Celtics' defense held strong on the final possession, preventing Jordan from getting a clean look at the basket. The game ended with Boston victorious, proving that Larry Bird was still a force to be reckoned with. Although the Celtics would ultimately face disappointment in the playoffs, losing in the first round to Patrick Ewing's New York Knicks, Bird's performance during the season was a testament to his greatness. Despite his injury and advancing age, he averaged 24 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists per game, reminding everyone why he was one of the greatest players in NBA history. Larry Bird's legacy was already secure. As a 3-time champion and the leader of his generation, he had set a standard that future superstars aspired to reach. While the 1990s ushered in a new era of basketball, Bird's contributions to the game remained unparalleled. His ability to adapt, compete, and excel, even in the face of adversity, solidified his status as a true legend of the sport. Don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. See you next time.